Welcome to the Paris Cachée podcast. In each episode, we travel to a new arrondissement of Paris to reveal one lieu caché, the hidden place. It might be a mysterious monument, a quirky café, a secret garden, or a shop frozen in time. No matter what it is, it'll always be hidden in plain sight, and always have an intriguing story to tell. I'm your host, Lily Heisey of the blog Je T'aime Me Neither, and author of 3 books on Paris, including my latest called There's Only One Paris, Tales for Our Times. I've been living in Paris for over 20 years, and I'm always on the lookout for the city's best, cool, and secret spots. So, without further ado, let's uncover our latest Paris Cachée. Today we are going to visit the first arrondissement, the heart of the city, home to the Louvre and the bustling Les Halles district. Les Halles, or the Halles, once the location of Paris's former central fresh food market. It was first established here back in the 12th century and transitioned from wooden buildings to gigantic iron and glass halls in the mid-19th century as part of Haussmann's vast overhauls of the city. It was shortly afterwards that Émile Zola immortalized the area in his novel Le Ventre de Paris, The Belly of Paris. In the early 1970s, the market was moved to modern facilities in Rungis, a suburb near Orly Airport, and its historic market halls were sadly torn down and replaced with the first Forum des Halles shopping mall, a then steel and mirrored glass structure that was a bit of an eyesore, to put it mildly. I remember when I first moved to Paris, the area was quite sketchy, and it was certainly not the place you'd want to walk around, especially at night. Panels of the mirrored glass would fall off, and the building, which might have been somewhat stylish and modern when it was created, had lost all of its appeal. The mall and its surroundings were fortunately revamped a few years ago, and the crumbling building was replaced with the Canopy, an equally unpopular structure. Despite this, millions of Parisians still pass through, either above ground or beneath its depths, in the vast subway interchange station every day. The convenience of its transit links and the area's central location make it one of the busiest areas of the city. Nevertheless, it isn't a part of town people tend to linger in. Although the recent new look given to Les Halles, especially the refurbished Nelson Mandela Gardens, have made it more appealing. Walking through this park today, one could hardly fathom that the large open space used to contain this vibrant and boisterous market. However, there is a small relic of the area's former raison d'etre which remains. Not all the market's historic buildings were destroyed during the 1970s, nor during the contemporary overhaul of the area. Sitting at the west end of the park is the former grain exchange of the market, a domed building later repurposed as the Bourse de Commerce, the Paris Chamber of Commerce, and which is currently being transformed once again, this time to house the Pinot collection of modern art. There are good chances you've scurried by here at some point, on your way to the metro or to the mall. Perhaps you've even casually noticed the building. However, you probably didn't spot the soaring object that seems to be attached to the back of the building, something which is terribly out of place, an unusual structure, a column, the Medici column. In fact, the Grain Exchange wasn't the first building to occupy this site. Back in the 1570s, this plot of land and its buildings were acquired by Queen Catherine de' Medici, the widow of Henry II, and who, although 3 of their sons went on to become king, was still pretty much calling the shots. She was in the process of building the Tuileries Palace for herself on the western edge of the Louvre, a project which she suddenly abandoned to build another palace for herself, right here on this very spot, which was at the time just inside the Paris city walls, while the Tuileries was not. She demolished the property's existing grouping of buildings to construct her new royal residence, aptly nicknamed l'Hôtel de la Reine, or the Queen's Mansion. The large demeure was surrounded by an elegant garden, and in the central courtyard, something peculiar was added: this 28-meter-high column. But why did she have the column, the first ever to be built in Paris, constructed in the first place? You see, the Queen was very superstitious and highly interested in the occult. She consulted astrologers, clairvoyants, and magicians. It's been said that she rarely made a decision without consulting one of her mystics first. It's also thought that she even used magicians for more sinister aims or revenge, black magic. Apparently at her Loire Valley castle, Le Château de Chaumont, she had a room dedicated to magic, complete with an altar, magic mirror, purification fountain, potions, amulets, and more. She's accused of poisoning several people high up in the French aristocracy, like the mother of her future son-in-law, King Henry IV, and possibly even her eldest son, Francis II, who died mysteriously after only 17 months on the throne. In addition to all this, she had hundreds of female spies, nicknamed the Flying Squadron, who buzzed around the court, spreading and acquiring gossip for her. Now, this behavior doesn't seem very becoming of a queen, does it? Especially a supposedly staunch Catholic queen. For centuries, the Catholic Church had fought against any heresy. Think of poor Joan of Arc being burnt at the stake, and the countless people tortured and killed during the Inquisition. Did the Queen's status as the niece of the Pope allow the Church to turn a blind eye? Well, one must keep in mind the times. This was in the middle of the wars of religion, a bloody and tumultuous time which pegged Christians against Protestants. Some of these accusations might be exaggerated to give Catherine a bad name. Nevertheless, Some proof has been found in letters she wrote and other documents of the times. Her faith in the occult was only heightened when she learnt of an ominous prediction made by one of the mystics she admired the most, the legendary Nostradamus.
The young lion will overcome the old one on the field of combat in a single battle. He will pierce his eyes through a golden cage, two wounds made one. Then he dies a cruel death.
This was the fate Nostradamus foresaw in 1555 for Catherine's husband, King Henry II, a prophecy which would come true 4 years later in 1559, when King Henry, the older one from the prediction, died due to injuries to his eye made in a friendly jousting match with the Count of Montgomery, 6 years the king's junior, and thus the young lion of the prophecy. We'll be right back with Paris Cachée after a word from our sponsors.
Hey, I'm Emily.
And I'm Caroline.
And we live in France, where pretty much every meal demands both a cheese course and a wine pairing.
Amen.
It doesn't need to be a special occasion for you to add this French flair to your daily meals, and we want to help you with that.
That's the thing. A great cheese and a delicious glass of wine can really elevate your at-home dining. However, even if it's a Tuesday night and you're by yourself.
Tuesday night by yourself is the perfect time.
Absolutely.
So get involved. Send us your favorite home meals. Describe the recipe. Let us know what it's all about. And we will put our palates and minds to the test. I'm going to pair it with the most complimentary cheese.
And I am going to figure out a perfect wine pairing.
Tune in on Fridays to hear some of our favorite pairings and to discover some brand new recipes that you can try at home.
Join our guests as we explore how to elevate your home-cooked food.
Can't wait to share these with you. Bon appetit!
We've all seen the Eiffel Tower, queued at the Louvre, and picnicked on the steps of Sacré-Cœur. But a treasure hunt through the Marais, drag queen bingo in Belleville, graffiti art installations in abandoned warehouses in the 14th? Those are the unique Parisian experiences we don't want to let slip away. My name is Jennifer Garrity, and I'm the host of Don't Miss This. From art installations, to authors' talks, to tours, to culinary ateliers, and everything in between. Each week, Don't Miss This will fill you in on the best of what's going on in Paris. Don't Miss This airs every Sunday on Paris Underground Radio. If you think you've got something we should know about, please email us at hello@parisundergroundradio.com. Happy exploring!
And now, back to Paris Cachée. After hearing about his prediction, Catherine summoned Nostradamus to Paris to explain it and to draw up horoscopes for her children. He would remain an important advisor to her until his death in 1566, and was even given the prestigious title of counselor and physician in ordinary to her son, the king's. However, it wasn't on the urging of Nostradamus that the column was constructed, but possibly due to another of the Queen's seers instead, the fellow Italian Cosimo Ruggieri. The reason Catherine had abruptly stopped building the Tuileries and commenced her new mansion is presumed to have been because of a prediction made by Cosimo, which could have gone something like this.
Your Highness, Queen Catherine, I see something tragic. I see that you will die near Saint-Germain. Yes, Saint-Germain.
Davvero? For real? At Saint-Germain, I must stay away from Saint-Germain. Immediatamente. Immediately.
Well, the Louvre complex, and thus the Tuileries Palace, was indeed near Saint-Germain. That is, the Saint-Germain-l'Auxerrois church. The late Gothic church was the Paris church of the royal family, and still sits to this very day directly across from the Louvre. Shortly after Cosimo's prediction, Catherine hightailed it within the city walls, and not too far, but far enough away from this supposed bad omen. That may be true, but how did the column come to be?
Vostra Altezza, now you have your new palazzo, your new palace. I need a column. Yes, I can do my work with the help of the column.
In fact, the column is also nicknamed the horoscope column. Back then, Paris would have most certainly been much darker in the evenings, and at its heights, Cosimo would have had an excellent vantage point for viewing the night sky and stars, something which is no longer possible due to the glow modern lighting casts over the city. The column's corners match the 4 cardinal points, another indication it may have been for stargazing. Doric in style, it's decorated with a variety of carvings, including interlacing C's and H's, the emblem of Catherine and Henry, fleur de lis, the flower representing both the French royal family and the Queen's own Italian one, the Medicis. There are also cornucopias, and more bizarrely, shattered mirrors and torn love knots. This latter symbolism has triggered a second theory about the column's origins, that it was built to commemorate Catherine's deceased husband Henry and the grief she still bore for him. But then why include a spiral staircase within and the small balcony at the top? After the Queen's passing in 1589, the mansion was acquired by Charles, Count of Soissons, at which time it was thus rebaptized the Hôtel de Soissons. The residence was later demolished in the 1770s to make way for a first grain hall, and then replaced with the current Bourse de Commerce building in the 1880s. However, the column somehow survived those various reconstructions. Perhaps Cosimo's spirit has been watching over it? Oh, and by the way, his prediction about Catherine's death did turn out to be true.
I see that you will die near Saint-Germain. Yes, Saint-Germain.
As she was on her deathbed in the castle of Blois in the Loire Valley, very far from Paris and the Saint-Germain-l'Auxerrois church, she was given an unction by a priest, a certain Julien de Saint-Germain. I wonder if Cosimo's words were echoing through her mind then. The next time you're scuttling through Les Halles, why not take a detour to seek out the column? Or perhaps if you come to visit the new Pinot collection. That is, unless you're superstitious. Thank you for listening, and until next time, keep your eyes peeled. You never know what they may fall upon, especially in Paris. I'm your host, Lily Heisey. You can find me at jetammeneither.com. Special thanks to the voice actors in this episode: Silvia Bottani as Queen Catherine de' Medici, Flavio Petrucciello as Cosimo Ruggiero, and Cedric Verdure as Nostradamus. Our theme music is Dreamer, produced by Dania Vodavaz. Additional music used in this episode includes Renaissance Period by Masterpiece Music and Black Magic by COAG Music. Paris Cachée is produced by Paris Underground Radio. For more on this show and shows like it, please go to parisundergroundradio.com.